The last digit of your birth year holds a secret your soul has been trying to tell you. Right now, take a moment and look at the year you were born. Notice that final number at the end. That single digit isn't random, it's not a coincidence. According to Buddhist teachings, nothing about your birth is accidental. Not the year, not the month, not the day, and especially not that final digit, because that number is your soul's signature, a karmic code that reveals the journey you lived before this lifetime. Think about it. Have you ever felt inexplicably drawn to certain places you've never been, as if you've walked those streets in another time? Have you ever picked up a skill that felt less like learning and more like remembering? Have you wondered why certain challenges in your life feel like ancient battles you've fought before, patterns so deep they seem written into your very bones? That's because they are. And that final digit of your birth year is the key to understanding why. This isn't about astrology or personality tests. This is about remembering who you were so you can become who you're meant to be. Your birth year's last digit carries the energetic imprint of your previous incarnation, the lessons you learned, the gifts you earned, and the unfinished business your soul chose to complete in this lifetime. When you understand this number, everything starts to make sense. The fears that seem irrational, the talents that come too easily, the relationships that feel destined. They're all echoes of a life you lived before. Before we go deeper, I want you to do something. Right now, comment your birth year's last digit and the word remember. Let's unlock your soul's memory together. This is your invitation to witness not just your own awakening, but the awakening of everyone in this community. When we acknowledge our soul's journey, we give others permission to do the same. Now, let me share what the Buddhist masters have known for thousands of years. In Buddhist cosmology, there's a teaching about samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Your soul doesn't just disappear between lifetimes, it carries forward. Every lesson you learned, every piece of wisdom you earned, every karmic pattern you created, it all moves with you like invisible luggage into your next incarnation. And here's what most people don't know. The timing of your birth, down to the final digit of the year, is chosen by your soul as a vibrational match to the life you lived before. The 10 realms of Buddhist cosmology correspond perfectly to the 10 digits, 0 through 9. Each digit represents a different soul experience, a different lifetime, a different set of lessons your consciousness moved through. Some of you were spiritual seekers, some were warriors, some were healers or builders or wanderers, and each of these past life roles left specific imprints on your soul, specific gifts you brought forward, and specific challenges you're here to finally resolve. Your birth year's last digit is like a vibrational key. It unlocks the memory of who you were and reveals what your soul chose to complete in this lifetime. This is why certain things feel so familiar. They're not new experiences. They're cellular memories from previous incarnations rising to the surface, asking to be seen, acknowledged, and finally integrated. When you recognize your number, you're not learning something new. You're remembering something ancient. Let's discover what your number reveals about the life you lived before this one and the sacred purpose you're here to fulfill now. If your birth year ends in 0, you are what Buddhist teachings call an ascended soul. 0 represents the void and the infinite, the space between breaths, the silence before creation. In your past life, you walked a spiritual path. You were a monk, a mystic, a spiritual teacher, someone who dedicated their entire existence to transcendence and enlightenment. And here's what's remarkable about you in this lifetime. You still carry that wisdom. People sense something different about you. You understand things that others struggle to grasp. You can look at someone suffering and immediately comprehend not just what they're feeling, but why they're feeling it. Compassion isn't something you learned. It's something you remember. You see through material illusions naturally, recognizing that the things most people chase won't bring lasting peace. But here's your challenge, and if you're a zero, you know this one intimately. You struggle to stay grounded in physical reality. Part of you still lives in that monastery, in that meditation cave, in that place of pure spirit. Worldly responsibilities can feel heavy, even unspiritual, like they're pulling you down from where you're meant to be. This lifetime is teaching you something essential. Enlightenment includes embodiment. Heaven and earth aren't separate. Your sacred purpose is to bring that ancient wisdom into practical action, to prove that spirituality isn't about escaping the world, but transforming it from within. If your birth year ends in 1, you are the pioneer warrior. 1 is the initiator, the first step, the brave soul who goes where others won't. In your previous incarnation, you were a leader, a warrior, a trailblazer who fought for causes and commanded others into battle. And that energy didn't disappear. You carry fierce independence in your bones. You have natural authority that others recognize instantly, even when you're not trying to lead. You possess the courage to stand alone, to take positions others won't, to protect the vulnerable even when it costs you. That instinct to fight for what's right, to defend those who cannot defend themselves, it's not new, it's ancient. But here's what you're learning in this lifetime, and it might be the hardest lesson you've ever faced. True strength includes gentleness. The warrior energy that served you before can become aggression now if you're not careful. You might struggle with collaboration, perceiving it as weakness. You might fear that vulnerability will be used against you, so you armor yourself before anyone gets close. This life is teaching you that leadership through service is more powerful than dominance through force. The strongest warriors are the ones who know when to sheath their swords. If your birth year ends in 2, you carry the healer's heart. 2 represents duality and partnership, the sacred balance between giving and receiving. In your past life, you were a healer, a midwife, a counselor, a keeper of medicine and emotional wisdom. You brought people through their darkest nights. You held space for pain that others couldn't bear to witness, and in this lifetime, that gift remains. You have extraordinary empathy. When someone walks into a room carrying grief or fear, you feel it before they speak. You have a natural ability to create emotional safety, to make people feel seen in a way they've never experienced before. Your presence alone can facilitate healing. But here's the pattern you're here to break. You absorb others' energy to your own detriment. You carry their pain home with you. You've developed martyrdom patterns, believing that your purpose is to give until you have nothing left. You struggle to receive care because somewhere deep inside, you believe you're supposed to be the strong one, the one who holds everyone else together. This lifetime demands you learn something radical. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. Self-care isn't selfish, it's sacred work. Your needs matter equally to the needs of those you serve. As we move through the next numbers, notice which resonates not just mentally but viscerally in your body, in your bones. Your soul recognizes its own story. If your birth year ends in 3, you are the creative storyteller. 3 embodies expression and creation, the sacred power of bringing beauty into existence. In your previous life, you were an artist, a performer, a storyteller, a keeper of cultural memory. You painted, you danced, you sang, you wove tales that carried truth in ways logic never could. And that vibrant imagination didn't leave you. It lives in every cell of your being. You have natural charisma that draws people in. You inspire others through beauty, through the way you see the world and translate it into something others can feel. Your gift is joy. You know how to take the heavy and make it light, to find wonder in the ordinary, to remind people that life can be magical if we allow it. But here's your growth edge, and if you're a 3, you've felt this tension. Your energy scatters. You start 100 projects and finish few. You struggle to commit to depth because the next shiny thing always calls louder. And sometimes, if you're honest, you use performance as armor. You entertain, you charm, you deflect. But authentic vulnerability feels dangerous. This lifetime is asking something specific of you. Your gifts are meant for purpose, not just pleasure. You're here to channel that creativity into meaningful contribution, to recognize that your art isn't separate from your spiritual path. It is your spiritual path. If your birth year ends in 4, you carry the builder's discipline. 4 represents structure, foundation, the sacred geometry that holds everything in place. In your past incarnation, you were a craftsman, an architect, a farmer, someone who built systems meant to last beyond your own lifetime. You understood that great things require patience, precision, and unwavering commitment to the work, and you still carry that incredible work ethic. You are reliable in ways that others simply aren't. When you say you'll do something, it's done. You have patience with slow processes that would break most people. You can take chaos and create stability, can see a vision and methodically build it into reality with your own hands. People trust you because you've earned that trust through consistent action. But here's what you're learning now, and it might feel like unlearning everything you thought you knew. Rigidity can become a prison. You resist change because change threatens the structures you've worked so hard to build. You've developed workaholic tendencies that neglect your emotional and spiritual needs because those things don't produce measurable results. You can build empires but struggle to flow with life's natural rhythms. This lifetime teaches you something essential. Not all worthy things can be measured or built with hands. Flexibility and flow are also forms of strength. The foundation you built in your past life was important. Now you're learning to dance on top of it. If your birth year ends in 5, you are the wanderer's freedom. 5 is movement, change, the restless energy that refuses to be contained. In your previous life, you were a traveler, a merchant, an explorer, a messenger who moved between worlds and cultures. You saw things others never imagined. You traded not just goods, but ideas, connecting people and places that would have remained strangers without you. And that adaptability lives in you still. You thrive in uncertainty where others freeze. You find opportunity in chaos. You have this gift for connecting diverse people and ideas, for seeing patterns across different domains, for bringing fresh perspective to stale situations. Your curiosity is insatiable, and that's beautiful. But here's the pattern you're meant to break. You fear commitment because you perceive it as loss of freedom. Staying feels like dying. Building lasting foundations terrifies you because foundations mean roots, and roots mean you can't just leave when things get difficult. You've convinced yourself that your restlessness is spiritual seeking, but sometimes it's just running. This life invites you to discover something radical. True freedom includes the choice to stay. Depth and commitment don't trap you. They liberate you in ways surface-level experiences never can. You can still be free while having roots. In fact, that's the deepest freedom of all. The second half of these digits carries the energy of maturity, souls learning to give back what they've received. If your birth year ends in 6, you are the nurturer's sacrifice. 6 embodies service and responsibility, the sacred act of caring for others. In your previous incarnation, you were a parent, a caregiver, a community keeper, someone whose entire existence revolved around protecting and providing for those who depended on you. And that devotion didn't disappear. You carry unconditional love in your DNA. You have this extraordinary ability to create home and belonging wherever you go. People feel safe with you. They know instinctively that you'll show up, that you'll hold space for their pain, that you'll put their needs before your own without hesitation. Your instinct to protect and provide isn't learned behavior. It's soul memory. But here's the pattern that's been breaking you, and if you're a 6, you felt this exhaustion deep in your bones. You take over responsibility for everyone else's happiness. You feel guilty when you prioritize yourself, as if your own needs are somehow less important than the needs of those around you. Your identity has become so completely merged with your caretaking role that you don't know who you are when you're not serving someone else. This lifetime requires you to learn something that might sound harsh, but is actually the most loving truth you'll ever hear. Love that diminishes you diminishes everyone. When you pour from an empty vessel, what you give becomes resentment disguised as service. Your needs matter equally to the needs of those you serve. Caring for yourself isn't selfish. It's the foundation that makes genuine care for others possible. If your birth year ends in 7, you carry the soul of the mystic scholar. 7 is the seeker, the one who must know, who must understand, who cannot rest until truth reveals itself. In your past life, you were a philosopher, a hermit, a researcher, someone who withdrew from the world to study the mysteries others ignored. You lived in libraries, in meditation caves, in observatories charting the movements of celestial bodies, and that penetrating insight remains. You see patterns others miss entirely. You can look at a situation and understand not just what's happening on the surface, but the invisible forces moving beneath it. You're comfortable with solitude in ways that terrify most people. Inner work doesn't scare you, it's where you feel most at home. But here's your challenge, and you know this one intimately. You overanalyze everything until analysis creates paralysis. You distrust your instinct and embodied knowing because they can't be verified through research. You've isolated yourself and called it enlightenment, convincing yourself that detachment from life is somehow more spiritual than engagement with it. This lifetime teaches you something essential. Wisdom without lived experience is incomplete. Your mind is brilliant, but the body and heart carry intelligence just as valuable. You can't think your way into transformation. At some point, you have to live it. If your birth year ends in 8, you are the prosperity keeper. 8 represents abundance and power, the infinite loop of energy flowing in and out. In your previous life, you were a ruler, a merchant prince, a landowner, someone who controlled resources and understood how to accumulate and wield material power. And that magnetism for wealth followed you into this lifetime. You have natural ability to manifest material success. Money flows to you in ways that seem almost magical to others. You understand energy exchange instinctively, recognizing that prosperity isn't just about accumulation, but about strategic circulation. When you walk into a room, people sense your power. But here's the lesson you're here to integrate. You've developed attachment to status and control. You've used resources to maintain power over others to ensure they need you. You fear that generosity equals loss, that if you share too freely, you'll somehow have less. This lifetime asks you to become a channel for abundance rather than a dam blocking its flow. True prosperity multiplies when it moves. The more you give, the more flows back to you. But you can only discover this through direct experience, by releasing your grip and trusting that the universe will provide. If your birth year ends in 9, you are the completion soul. 9 is the ending of cycles, the final note before the symphony concludes. In your previous incarnation, you lived what Buddhist teachings call your final round of karmic clearing. You integrated lessons from multiple lifetimes, resolved ancient patterns, prepared your soul for something beyond the wheel of rebirth. And that old soul wisdom is palpable. You have access to knowledge that shouldn't be possible, given your years of life experience. You understand impermanence not as concept, but as lived reality. When others panic about change, you remain steady because you've seen civilizations rise and fall across multiple incarnations. But here's the challenge unique to 9s: you're exhausted. You feel done with earthly existence. Finding purpose feels difficult because your lessons feel complete. What's left when you've already learned everything you came to learn? This lifetime is teaching you that completion is not ending but transformation. You're not here to keep learning. You're here to teach others what you've gathered across many journeys. Your presence alone helps others remember their own path. That's not a small purpose, that's everything. Now that you've recognized your soul's signature, the question becomes, what will you do with this remembering? Now that you understand your soul's signature, let's talk about what comes next. Because recognition is beautiful, but integration is where the real transformation happens. Your past life isn't a limitation. It's not something you need to fix or overcome. It's a resource, a library of earned wisdom that your soul deliberately chose to carry forward into this incarnation. You brought these gifts, these challenges, these patterns with you on purpose. They're meant to serve your evolution in this lifetime. The sacred work begins with a simple practice. Every morning when you wake up, before you reach for your phone or start planning your day, place your hand on your heart. Feel your heartbeat. That rhythm is ancient. It's carried you through multiple lifetimes. And in that moment of connection, say these words: I honor the soul I was, and I choose the life I'm creating. The past informs me, but does not define me. Let that become your daily anchor, because here's what most people misunderstand about past life wisdom. They think remembering means repeating. They think recognizing old patterns means being trapped by them. But the opposite is true. Consciousness is the key that unlocks the prison. When you see the pattern, you gain the power to choose differently. There's another practice I want to share with you, something deeper for when you're ready. Write a letter to your past life self. Thank them for the gifts they earned for you. If you're a 2, thank your healer self for teaching you empathy. If you're a 4, thank your builder self for giving you unshakable discipline. If you're a 9, thank all the versions of yourself that came before for the wisdom they gathered across so many journeys. And then, in that same letter, release their unfinished burdens. Tell them you're here now to complete what they could not. This isn't just symbolic. When you write these words, you're performing a karmic release, untethering yourself from patterns that no longer serve your highest path. The mantra I want you to carry with you is this: I remember my journey. I release my patterns. I reclaim my power. Say it when old fears surface. Say it when you catch yourself repeating behaviors that don't align with who you're becoming. Say it as a declaration of sovereignty over your own evolution. And now I want to invite you into something powerful. Comment below with your digit and one gift you now recognize as a past life talent. Maybe you're a 3 who finally understands why creativity feels like breathing. Maybe you're an 8 who sees that your relationship with abundance has ancient roots. Share your recognition with this community, because when we acknowledge our soul's journey out loud, we give others permission to do the same. Your story might be the mirror someone else needs to see their own truth reflected back. If this resonated with you, there are so many more layers of wisdom we can explore together. Subscribe so you don't miss the next teaching. And take a moment to let me know in the comments what other aspects of your spiritual path you want to understand more deeply. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are a soul in the sacred process of becoming, and every number, every memory, every inexplicable knowing is proof that you've been here before, learning, growing, preparing for this exact moment. Trust your journey, honor your history, and step fully into the life you chose before you were born. The last digit of your birth year holds a secret your soul has been trying to tell you. Right now, take a moment and look at the year you were born. Notice that final number at the end. That single digit isn't random. It's not a coincidence. According to Buddhist teachings, nothing about your birth is accidental. Not the year, not the month, not the day, and especially not that final digit, because that number is your soul's signature, a karmic code that reveals the journey you lived before this lifetime. Think about it. Have you ever felt inexplicably drawn to certain places you've never been, as if you've walked those streets in another time? Have you ever picked up a skill that felt less like learning and more like remembering? Have you wondered why certain challenges in your life feel like ancient battles you've fought before, patterns so deep they seem written into your very bones? That's because they are. And that final digit of your birth year is the key to understanding why.